Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to Hearts Around 4, the New Order last season Europe as the all-Russian government in the Far East. In the last video, we finally unified the Far East against the forces of demonetization that I'm not going to bring up in the first 30 seconds because I don't want to screw things up. I do want to point out a little something interesting that I'm noticing. It looks, we get our own little unique blurb, so we got some decent land in our home region that should help us. It's pointing out that we have decent food, arable land in this region to help us grow some more food. And as for here, it's pointing out how most of the non-migrants are going to be kind of skeptical of coming over here, but there's a recent surge in vacant homes due to our labor relocation programs, and it could allow us to Russify some of our rebelling native Siberian provinces by offering returning Russian patriots cheap lots of land and work opportunities in Yakutsk. It's an idea for certain. And I thought it was kind of cool that it was kind of different. This is something neat I found. Meanwhile, we're going to check out some of these. Oh, there we go. Some of these. I think we're going to do work on Amur's great gold reserves. We'll organize the mercenaries that we captured to work on Amur's gold departments, it would seem. And we'll also get working on the M58 highway project. We're going to have the NKVD build this one, it looks like. There we go. LBJ, huh? Chaos in the Horn of Africa. I don't know if Radzevsky would be entirely surprised. I don't think I want to hear his opinions on what the Africans are going through right now, though. Getting some fleet modernization. And also make sure to hold out until we get 65 convoys. Santa Cruz invades Bolivia. And Paraguay is about to get triple teamed. Oh, man. Now that is interesting. Ferdlovsk unifies West Siberia. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and do a mutually beneficial arrangement. Now that the Japanese and our allies in the eco-prosperity sphere formally recognize that we can look east in order to improve our industrial situation. Japanese has yet to disappoint the Vos in their generous donation of manpower and material. However, with our new relationship with the Great Samurai now redefined, the Vos has seen it fit to ask Tokyo for more than just guns, economic development in the form of industrial equipment, and the means to assemble and use it. Of course, this equipment is not free. It comes with a rather hefty price tag. That is, a free reign of Japanese companies within our territory. Surely the Japanese understand that, however, our two-way relationship, that surely means that a Japanese company would respect our markets and allow our own companies to work alongside their own. I'll wait and see about that. The Japanese don't have exactly a great reputation respecting non-Japanese people. At least, at least not Imperial Japan. So, yeah, I'll have to wait and see on that one. We'll do a little bit of infrastructure for the time being. Our poverty is not god-awfully increasing, though it's horribly high. Jesus Christ, that is not good. Bolivia actually is doing okay for once. That's nice to see. We'll see how long it lasts, but... And the Colombian Civil War is resuming. Congratulate Japan. It's already been well established if the U.S. is in the grips of a Jew, so already begun to use the American industrial base and gigantic economy to destroy the work of those who worked so hard to free themselves from Zionist plots. But was it not the Empire of Japan whose steadfast emperor and fanatical servants bravely fought against the Americans and their Jewish puppet masters during the Pacific War, not only fighting them to a standstill, but defeating them, standing triumphant over the American behemoth? Great minds think alike. And there are no greater minds than those of Japan and Russia. A perfect example of how compatible our two nations are. Our future lives with Japanese. The strength of the Asian peoples will not be undermined under the cosmopolitan onslaught. Customs Officer Yuzuki looked over his shipment paper extra thoroughly. A shipment like that from the north? The only thing that usually crossed the border from the chaos in the north were malnourished refugees unafraid of the bullets, the border guards, and moonshine vodka that tasted like you could become blind from it any second. But a whole cargo train of chromium? He slowly looked up to the unshaven Russian man in a surprisingly clean uniform. So, Mr. Dragovic, these are 20 wagons of prime chromium, slated for arrival in the home islands by rain to Fusan and shipment to Hiroshima. Why, thank you for doing my job for me, you rude fuck, Uzaki thought. He maintained his composure, though. Indeed, the shipment should be good to go, courtesy of the eternal friendship of our nations. You and your crew, however, will have to stop here and turn back. Immigration laws apply, as unfortunately we don't have an exception for your government yet. Vaslav's face was priceless. What? But the train next to more that goes for years in 2 weeks. We're in the middle of nowhere. I am sorry, sir, but it can't be helped. I am sure sufficient accommodation will be found. Uzaki resisted the urge, just grinned smugly. I will call Zeya. Unfortunately, there are no landlines connecting to that area. I hope you do enjoy your stay. That is all. As an enraged Dragovic stormed out, Uzaki glazed over the paper one last time. Do they really think we're equals? Silly Russians. Well, fellas like that. But at least with chromium arrived on time. Jesus. Could use some extra resources. Why not? And then we might get working on the dam coming up. We prefer independence with poverty to servitude with plenty. Sekou Torre. We can expand the state fishing fleet. Some more monthly population and a little more assistance for our poverty rate, which is really what we need right about now. Meanwhile, yeah, we haven't done this in a while. Let's catch up on research speed. We'll train 5 of you guys for now. Add you onto that army there. Then we'll just take it from there. I don't know if there's... I don't think we can do much over here. I don't think we've, I don't know if TNO's actually, implemented too much of that. Look, here's a good one, Casimir said with a smile. He held up the open photo album so the bartender could see, staring at the bar from him with dull eyes so could see. Uh-huh. Here's your pint, sir. A tall glass of foaming beer slid into view, but Casimir was too deep in nostalgia to notice. He went straight back to flicking through the album, smiling a little at every notable photo and memories it brought up. He could still remember fleeing across Siberia with his father, an admiral in Kolchak's army. First Vladivostok, then Harbin once the Reds arrived and started rounding up old whites. His old man had died shortly afterwards, half mad with grief and calling out to his lost comrades. With his last breath, he had implored Casimir to find the motherland's true defenders, join their ranks, and fight to the death to reclaim their home. Now, seated in a bar in Irkutsk, Casimir felt that he'd finally succeeded in his quest. This, the peace of his home city, liberated from the Reds, was what he'd been fighting for all these years. Street brawls in Harbin, the voyage in a rickety old Japanese destroyer, the bloody battle against splitters and communists. It was all worth it for this, for the glory, for the vows, for Russia. He had his place in history and was more than proud of it. It was worth any price. Congratulations, Japan. Next, I think we'll do economic assistance. Another great victory for our vows. The Japanese have accepted our proposal after a few small revisions regarding their market request. They have eagerly, gleefully even shipped off the industrial equipment to our ports, complete with the complete complement of Zaibatsu representatives who would instruct their Russian counterparts on how to operate the machinery most efficiently. Already, the Vols has declared an internal friendship with great samurai, and black troops have already begun to direct dock workers in preparation for the equipment's arrival, as well as scout out perfect places for the factories. There's a lot of work ahead of us, building and operating these factories, finding people to work in them. However, this is a large step in strengthening our relationship with Tokyo. Tactical support. Failed military coup in Ecuador. We're about to pass 92% poverty, my friends. Moscow flees to Ecuador. Like how there's the Galapagos and there's Ecuador over here. Uh-oh. I'll hold off on doing that for now because I don't want to, worsen our poverty anymore. I mean, for the roleplay, I kind of will have to do something eventually, but... Now, Paraguay is getting choke held again, it seems. Could do Japanese recognition and then go off to Tokyo. Our diplomatic carousing and praising of the Japanese not gonna notice, nor is the vast amount of resources that we can now sit upon. With some skillful and careful maneuvering, the Vols and a team of the most skilled and veteran diplomats, tempered by years of Russo-Japanese relations in Harbin, began to draft a proposal to the Japanese to ask for recognition. While the treaty will be hard-pressed to be accepted by the Emperor's finest, we are willing to negotiate some economic concessions in return for their international diplomatic recognition and a future of friendship and cooperation. But even achieving their recognition would go a long way to legitimizing our role in the world's eyes and open up further possible negotiations with our friends in Tokyo. Don't have extremely high deficits anymore. Just high deficits. Democracy returns to Italia. Paraguay falls. Look, Uruguay has a little occupation zone over here. That's cute. They're acting like Uruguay can do things. Let's get some anti-tank weaponry going. South Africa is actually kind of holding out okay. Constantine arrived in Haijo, accompanied by a number of his closest allies and bodyguards, the leader of the RFP. For too long, he'd been forced on the run, always watching for traitors to the Russian people from the Bolsheviks and Germans. No longer would he have to be another warlord among the rest. Some deals would have to be made with the Japanese, yes, but the recognition would bring any Russian on the Pacific close, even those American-backed pirates, to his side. His men had spent decades along the Amur River. The bustling city was a sight they missed from their home across the former Soviet Union. After a chauffeured ride to the center of the city, he arrived at the governor's home, where he, along with the Japanese foreign minister, waited at the door. Constantine fell out of place with the refined aristocrats of Japan's bureaucracy, but he would have to charm them. I'm pleased to meet you after so long, Minister. We want to work towards anything that reduces poverty. Oh! I can't believe I just noticed that. We're gonna have child labor again. Our poverty will worsen, but will eventually improve. And we'll do the heart of Russia. The Russian people took naturally the strains and boons of the Industrial Revolution like a moth to a flame. It's plainly obvious to anyone that the Russian is an inherently adaptable individual who's best suited not just for the romanticized way of life of the rural peasants, but also to work in our vast industrial complexes, churning out industrial goods and weapons of war. The beating heart of Russia has, since the early stages of industrialization, its economic and industrial might. During the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks and Bukharin took over, reducing the basic Russian instinct to work to a pathetic appeal towards an international worker for the nation. And when the perfidious Union collapsed, the subsequent economic fallout shattered Russia's industry. It's time to rebuild. Now that we can agree upon. Though it took more than a day to reach the RFP, Konstantin Rozevsky and his followers celebrated in Haijo with all the luxuries the well-kept city provided. With international recognition from the Japanese Empire, no less, the all-Russian government could achieve dominance over eastern Siberia through the threat of Japanese intervention, not to mention the large quantities supplies and intelligence of Japanese would provide in turn. As he returned back to Amur, he was greeted as the hero he was. Many felt despair since the split with those bastards in Magadan, the growth of communism once again in Russia, and raids from anti-Japanese bandits. But those would happen no more. No longer would be another warlord, but the vows of all Russians. Sky's the limit for the all-Russian government. There we go. But here's the question. Can we get anything to help with our poverty? Doesn't quite look like it. I think we'll start building the Zaya Dam. And we'll do that, which I'm not going to verbalize because I don't want to get demonetized. Although that might just be an uphill battle at this point. We can begin drilling over here, it seems. That'll give us a little extra money. A little cash we can put towards. And some infrastructure, which we need better infrastructure over here. Some extra convoys and monthly production. I wonder... I think our best bet is just to fight poverty. Maybe up our social spending. Although we don't really have much that can push us over it. Although if we get past, I think, basic literacy, it looks like that'll help a little bit. Same with healthcare quality. Let's take some lessons from Europe. Well, the once great German Empire now struggles in the West. Their ruination wasn't caused by their economy. Their economy is a sector dominated by mega corporations, and the use of less than willing dissidents, a lot of which will have an uncountable amount, earned them the role of the paramount economic power in Europe. Better still, the corporate system Rodolfsky plans to borrow from the Germans was one that won them the Second World War and earned them their spot in the powers of today. They shattered this corrupted union with Germany's economic might and sealed their fate during the West Russian War, due almost entirely to their unwavering fascist spirit and their sound economic system. By encouraging the formation of Russian megacorporations, extending the forced labor systems that we already have in place, we can take some lessons from Europe and implement them for the Russia of today. Yeah, sure. Do a little bit of that. Probably work on better artillery from here. I don't know if enjoying this campaign is the right word to say, but it's pretty well thought out. Clearly, I think. New education funding. I think that's probably our best bet right now. Try to get our academic base up so we can at least get a little bit of extra progress to crushing our poverty. Let's do the soul of Russia. Now we've actually... Let's see if we can go off to Tokyo. Now that our relationship with Japanese has progressed to warm, we've got to economic involve ourselves with co-prosperity sphere members. The Vols have proposed one more sit-down with Japanese diplomats. This time, instead of recognition, it's a matter of Outer Manchuria, better known to Russians as Preamurye. Seized by the Japanese during the collapse of the Soviet Union, Preamurye had a short but incredibly troublesome relationship in the hands of its current owner, Manchukuo. Outer Manchuria, as the Manchukuo administrators have seen fit to dub it, is filled with naysayers and bandits, at least according to them. It's likely, according to the Vols, because those there are either rabble-rouser Asiatic bandits, preying on the inefficiencies of Manchukuo's pitiful police force, or intensely patriotic Russians who seek nothing more than to join the all-Russian government. Of course, the Japanese will demand more of the same, economic concessions, but the Vols are more than willing to give them. That could be worthwhile. West African Alliance is doing some stuff, it seems. Looks like we got a three-way battle going on over here. Victory for the DC. Improve healthcare. Since our unification of the Far East, now seems to be the perfect time to negotiate for our territories in Outer Manchuria. Regaining these lands would be a larger propaganda win for us domestically and abroad. The more Russian territory we hold, the more legitimate we may appear. Let's approach Japan for the territory's possible reintegration into Russia. Sending an envoy headed by Rodzewski himself to Tokyo should hopefully do the trick. Sure, they're really happy to give us the territory. We are on very good terms diplomatically. We may have to give something in return. We expect nothing less than an agreement on equal terms from our diplomats. Rodzewski will even go personally to make sure both us and Japan receive a good deal. Why wouldn't Japan view us as equals? Why not? The glory of Russia will be reclaimed. I'll save in case that goes horribly. Let's do the Soul of Russia. Now that you have slaughtered the renegade and his supporters, ended the Tsar's fearful bid for power, destroyed the Bolshevik remnants of to our west, and ground the heretic followers into dust, we can now say the Vaz's position, both within and without, is secure. We must make it official the all-Russian government of the Far East and consolidate our hold on the territory that we've sacrificed so much to conquer, no matter the cost. For the Soul of Russia, Konstantin Rodzewski, our eternal Vaz, will be able to lead our movement forward, ensuring the success of the Russian Fascist Party. No dissenter will be spared, no treasonous Bolshevik will be left to ferment revolution, no scheming Jew will be permitted to stand in the way of a truly Russian state. Now and forevermore we can say, for God, nation, and labor. Can't forget the labor. Rodzewski's delegation exited the plane and headed to their designated vehicles. A wondrous city, Tokyo seemed to have grown even larger since the last time Rodzewski visited. Skyscrapers, trains, and cars surrounded him as he drove through the busy streets. He'd hoped he'd be able to find their hotel. Over the next week, the negotiations for return of Outer Manchuria to Russia would commence. Rodzewski was confident the territory would be returned. They'd gotten this far, hadn't they? The Japanese wouldn't have invited such a large delegation to Tokyo if they weren't interested. However, Japan may ask for something in return. We have a large deposit of resources in our control. Perhaps a share could be offered to Japan. Rodzewski would be happy to give anything just to regain more of Russia. An interesting offer. And I'll go for a little longer. I think this is going to be the last part I record tonight. But I'll go another 6 minutes. As our meeting with the Japanese began, the Japanese were very interested in our offer of resource rights. Perhaps too interested, in fact. Now the Japanese have requested the rights to all the resources, not just the limited amount we were ready to give. Rodzewski is fretted by this. He has no choice but to agree. Outer Manchuria must be regained, and Rodzewski needs the support of new liberated territories in the Far East. Besides, giving Japan the resources would surely increase our relations even further and show that we can be diplomatic. Perhaps this would open up even more options for us with the Japanese in the future. So, with reluctance, Rodzewski has agreed to the Japanese proposal. While it may hurt us now with the loss of such a resource-rich area, surely it will be better for us in the long run. An agreement that satisfies both parties. Jesus, they're just taking all our shit. That's cool. Well, with our delegation, the Japanese coming to an agreement, Outer Manchuria has finally been returned to Russian hands. The official handover was conducted in the province, and our garrisons have moved in to replace the Japanese. Major celebrations have been conducted in cities all over the Far East, and a speech by Radzevsky in the capital was met by hundreds of joyous citizens. The goal of diplomatic victory has undoubtedly been achieved, and support for our regime has risen. There have been far more boons than just the reclamation of former Russian lands, however. Conducting successful diplomatic negotiation with a superpower such as Japan has greatly increased our legitimacy on the world stage and within our own nation. More and more people are begging to support Radzevsky and the RFP government. Unfortunately, not everything is perfect. Within hours of our ownership of our province, terrorist activity has been reported. It appears while Japan is giving us back our former territory, they gave us a bandit problem too. Our black shirts are already in the case, having dealt with multiple bandit problems in the past. We believe the terrorists will be a small stint in our great reclamation. Who cares about the bandits? Let's celebrate. That is pretty nice. Then we have this territory back. Here we go. When Goldstein Radzevsky awoke, the first thing he felt was a familiar throbbing pain in his head. Not particularly bad this morning, and as usual, Radzevsky could not recall exactly how he'd spent the previous night. Luggage pace. He opened his eyes and gave a half-hearted glance at the alarm clock on his nightstand. Radzevsky's sight was blurred, and he could not make out the time at first. After a moment, his eyes had adjusted and revealed the hour. 2:30 in the afternoon. His head still aching, his body still sap of energy, Radzevsky clumsily rolled out of the bed and landed on the floor with a loud thud. He acted out a few pained coughs and mumbled an obscenity, but was still too groggy to be fazed by the slight pain the fall had given him. When everything already hurt, what was a little more going to do? Pulling himself together, Radzevsky rose to his feet and opened the blinds of the window, revealing the nearly perpetually frozen city of Zaya. Light flooded the poorly lit room, and the sunbursts of sunlight caused Radzevsky to flinch. The vast view his third-story room had given him quickly reminded the fascist leader of his recent accomplishments. This land from Lake Baikal in the west to Kamchatka in the east was his, and his alone. All Radzevsky's enemies were either dead or wishing they were, and his dreaded armies had their boots firmly on the neck of the Russian Far East. This thought gave Radzevsky a great deal of comfort. Looking out into the distance, Radzevsky began to feel excitement for the future that he had not felt in some time. If these victories were to continue, he thought, all of Russia would be at his mercy, along with all the undesirables hiding therein. A great darkness arises in the east. But for now, looks like we gotta secure our provinces. There's a saying in Blagoveshchensk that a man is safer in the pits of hell than he is leaving the city limits. Despite the Japanese having decided to give us back control of Priamurye, expanding our territory throughout large swaths of territory we were granted has proven troublesome. The cities, what few there are filled to bursting with destitute, homeless, or worse, as well as an out-of-control drug trade and rampant organized crime. The countryside, however, is even worse. Territories even controlled by Russian bandits and Korean communist insurgents, contesting one another in a series of absurd turf wars. But this is Russian land once, and will be again. The Vols made a speech about the indomitable will of the RFP and ensuring victory in Priamurye, and the Vols' enemies are bandits and exiled Koreans. Already trucks full of the most brutal black shirts have begun to arrive in the region, preparing to end this anarchy that reigns. Well, there we go. State fishing armada soon would be nice. If we can get it. Get basic artillery. Oh. We're already building artillery before. That's a little embarrassing. A quick little decision before we go. Goldstein Radzevsky was a man energized. his soldiers, had conquered much of the Far East, establishing a significant base of power for the RFP. And that expansion offered him a choice he did not expect nor planned for. With so much new territory, the capital had to be moved. Zay had proved useful for a time, but it was both too small and too provincial to serve as a center of power for a resurgent fascist state. The move had to happen, and two choices had presented themselves to serve as a replacement. The first was obvious. Irkutsk was one of the largest cities in all of Siberia, possessed considerable infrastructure, transport and otherwise, and further was much closer to the border, over which Brzezinski knew future campaigns would be launched. But it also meant it would be more exposed, and its previous status of capital of a Soviet remnant state meant that saboteurs and communists likely remained hidden among the Soviet civilian populace. The other option was Chita, until recently occupied by the breakaway monarchists. It was smaller and more isolated, though still less than Zaya, but that meant it offered far more security than did Irkutsk. Its status as holding one of the Harbin Three also imparted some ideological and propaganda advantages, but its distance from future front lines would impose an administrative burden, to be sure. Both had strengths and weaknesses, but Brzezinski knew one had to be chosen, and as the unquestioned rule of his state, he also knew the choice could only be his. Screw both of these. Radzevsk, for home is where the heart is. I can think of no better choice for a man of such ego than to go against logic and just do what he wants to do. We actually, let's see, has okay infrastructure. Check out the new province. Okay, not good at all. You need better anti-tank, so we'll get that going. I want to take a gander at... We will take a quick gander at integrating Outer Manchuria. With the Japanese, we've been able to gain control of large swaths of Outer Manchuria, as well as the eastern edge of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. While our followers and soldiers are beginning to move into our rightful lands, bandits and partisans still roam the vast steppes and plains. Most notorious is Kim Il-sung's Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army, who will need to be defeated to protect our new towns and railroads. Well, that's kind of hilarious. I can't even lie. We'll see if how that does things. Ooh, mechanization actually improves our poverty as well. I think I might have to bite the debt bullet and get that going as well. I think better mechanization is also going to... might help at least a little bit more. Well, it's not going to hurt us at least. If you go past basic literacy, it also takes a slight monthly population away. Which I think is going to be at least somewhat useful. We've gone up to widespread cronyism. That's improvement from... I think we started off with dysfunctional high command, so that's a very nice boost. It's our healthcare system we really need to improve, and we're nowhere near improving it at this point. Well, I think that's just something that I'll have to deal with next time, my friends. I've kept this video going on possibly a bit too long, so I think it's time to end it here. But thank you as always for watching, my friends. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content feature, hit the sub button for uploads weekdays, as well as occasionally Saturdays. If you have any comments, feedback, concern, leave in the comment section below. I read all comments again, appreciate any y'all feedback you might have for me. Check out my various links down in the description box below. I have Patreon, Twitch, Discord, and second channel. If you're interested in any of those, check them out. That's really it for now, my friends. My name has been Mr. Dogbot333, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye-bye.